Hi, this is James, and welcome to Worship Talk. Today I have with me again,
Eli Navas from Hope for Today TV.
and as you know, Eli is a pastor, a worship leader, and a YouTube phenom in the making. And so, in this episode of Worship Talk, I'm going to be asking Eli three questions. And I just don't know, Eli, do you think you might be ready for that, for three more questions?
Quiero Taco Bell. Yes, I am ready.
Okay. All righty. So the first question is coming to you right now. With the return to regular worship services becoming a reality soon, song leaders and band members will eventually be coming back together. But until then, how might they currently be leading or putting together worship songs?
Okay. James is proposing today just to make my day really complex because the answer is not really easy, because we can face this question with different point of views, and I will just tell you two points of view. Number one, just to establish what we're going to do. I can talk you directly with my experience, or I can tell you also what other people has experienced, but I will try to mix and match both, because in my case, the church that I was working with, we were doing pre-recorded services, and we had the ability to bring the band together, respecting social distancing, but at the same time to record everything live, pre-record, and present on Sunday morning. But the church that I'm currently working right now, they have been doing worship in a live streaming setting Sunday morning, 10 a.m., 3 to 1, boom, good to go. So I will try together with James to help you just to figure it out what will be good for you. So to answer that question, that's the base that I will give you, just for you to know that pre um, pre-answer preparation for you. Okay, number one that I can tell you is planning ahead of time your services, and I mean in all regards. Plan your song list, plan who's going to be doing this and that, because you have to have a program, the same program that you have for Sunday mornings. You have to have it, even if it's pre-recorded or even if it's a live service. You have to have your services in planning ahead of time, and you have to take everything in consideration, what your volunteers are able or not able to do, and who's willing or not willing to be there, because that's the truth. Also, in both cases, you can use online apps to pre-record your teams, pre-record the parts, and then put it all together. But that's one of the things that you have to think about. The pre-recorded services is really complex if you don't have the experience or you don't have the right tools to do so. Okay, so one of the things that I can tell you is, in my case, I'm a Mac user and I use Final Cut. I used to use iMovie, and believe it or not, iMovie is fine. There's nothing wrong. But when you want to do something more refined with more animations and everything, you just try to move to a different platform. I'm not an Adobe user, so I don't use Adobe Premiere, but a lot of people use the Adobe Premiere. But whatever you have in your hands, try to not to spend money. I already have Final Cut before, so I didn't have to repurchase the app. But use those online apps to pre-record the services or pre-record their parts. Like a singer is sending the main stuff, or the pianist is sending the click with the song. The main singer will sing, and then you can mount all the voices and send indications. That's the reason why planning in ahead of time what you're going to do with the songs is really important. Also, you can use in advance the tracks and use click tracks. That's really good and really useful, because it will keep everybody on time. They will hear a second voice in their head. I don't mean it in the wrong way. I mean it, they will hear the split tracks, one voice saying where they're going, and everybody will know what to do. That will help you just to sync everything in tune with the singers, with the voice, with the musicians, but also will help you to replace instruments that you might not have available for you right now. I remember, and I think that you can help me with this, James. In your church, what you do is like you receive one part and you mount the drums on that one. Can you help me with that one? What do you do in your church?
So our worship leader actually uses a click track for himself and records his guitar and his voice and maybe his wife as well too singing, and on individual tracks. And then what he does is he sends that to me, and he puts on how many BPM that is. And so I'll know if the song is, in 4/4, 3/4, 6/8, whatever the song timing is, and I'll enter that into my software that I use. I happen to be using Studio One, but I mean there are a number of other softwares out there that allow you to take the multi-tracks and put them in, and I'll drop those files in. And then when I do this, I'll then create a drum track, and then doing all the different, kick and snare and hi-hat and so on and so forth to go along with that. And then when that's done, I'll just make a WAV file, and we'll use that to play, and then I'll record bass guitar, maybe some other vocals, and then maybe someone else does the same thing too. And we just record all of those tracks individually, and I reassemble them within the recording software and then produce a song. So that's how we've been doing it. And then afterwards, that goes into the larger Sunday worship service video file.
And also remember in these regards, it's about quality. And the quality sometimes doesn't have to be compromised regarding the equipment that you're using. Try to use a microphone. Buy something online that is just like $10 or $15 that you can plug into your phone. And you can have in one channel your headphones, and it doesn't matter what you do. Try to be creative in this. And the last advice that I can give you is, and I will be really honest, invest on an audio interface to maximize the quality of the audio that you are doing. By example, James blessed me with a Roland Rubix 22, I believe that it is. I don't see the serial number here or anything. So it's a really good way to get everything together. And if your churches, and this is what I'm trying to do with my church, preparing for Sundays, and if we have to pre-record, we can use everybody audio interfaces, and I mean singers, I mean musicians. They can have everything in front of their tablets, computers, and they can record everything right away, and the quality will be there. And believe it or not, that's really the process that we have in a recording studio, that is just like try and fail, trial and fail. And that's what you have to do. You have to practice. And remember, we have to accommodate to what the needs of the church are regarding this. But also you have to think about what the people wants to do. And this is something that when you implement technology into all these things about worship, the people gets excited, especially newer generation. They get really excited about being part of a worship team who is trying to do everything with technology. And the other thing that I want to add that I forgot it is when you're planning your services, there's a lot of apps that you can use. In my case, what I've been using for the last maybe 15 years that I was introduced into this is Planning Center Services or Planning Center Online. It's the standard of the industry right now, and I'm talking about the industry, the Christian market, churches all over the world. I'm talking about churches like 100 to thousands. I heard from a friend who was part of a worship team in Lakewood Church in Texas, and he told me about this app 15 years ago, and I went inside and I love the app. It's a little bit complex to use, especially when you're a user and an administrator, but it's really user-friendly when you train your people properly to see what are the benefits of this. And that's an app that you can use for planning everything. And in my case, because I'm a music producer, I'm a pianist, what I do is like I upload everything into my service, and I have the order of service, and you can go and practice. You put the lyrics, you put the chords, you put the samples, you put the YouTube video that you want the people to know. And I also do my own split tracks. It's just like a personal taste because I want a specific flavor of the song, and they can practice with all this. And as long as you put all the resources available for the people to have in front of them is the better. And that's the mentality. Remember, we're here to serve the people, and we're not here to be a burden to our volunteers. So the more tools, the more availability of resources you give them, the more successful you will be. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be Planning Center that you use for planning. It doesn't have to be Zoom to do your practices, but think about this. Google what is the best platforms that you can use for your reality in your church. Because if you have a lot of musicians, you need a lot of logistics. And in my case, I love logistics, and that's my main bread and water from every day, because I love planning. But if you're not good at that one, try to find out ways to be creative. There's some people who uses WhatsApp to send all the information. Sometimes the people practice through Google Hangout, Facebook. There's a lot of free resources that you can use, but as long as you plan your services and the people feel as comfortable with the resources that you're providing them, you're going to be safe. But remember, ask them what is more suitable for their need.
And I agree with that. I think that it kind of leads also into the next question. And the next question, I think I might reword it a little bit as well, too.
Okay.
You know, if you were, and I should say when you are leading worship today, how might you go about it, and how might that differ from what you see around you, like what differing from what other churches are doing?
Again, because we're trying to point out the things regarding your reality, we're going to talk about live, and we're going to talk also about pre-recording. Number one, if you're recording in the live setting, and I mean if your church has the resources of gathering everybody together in the building, have the cameras and the sound really well mixed to pre-record everything for Sunday morning still, just to make sure that you follow the social distancing. Remember that each country, each region, province, area is completely different. Like I live in the upper area of Toronto, and it's not even Toronto anymore. It's the area of Barrie, and we have different restrictions right now regarding the services. But right now, you have to remember all those kind of things, because this is when the art of the music and the worship shines. And remember, if you're in a live setting, recording all the stuff with the singers and musicians live, make sure that you already provided all the resources and respect social distancing. And also, when you have the ability to record all together, try to make sure that you have an experience with them, that you are live. And it doesn't matter how do you do it, pre-recorded or live setting, you have to think about what are the resources I provided and what are the things that I want the people to experience. Because the reality is this one. The people go to churches to experience. They want to experience the worship, and you have to be authentic all the time. When you're leading worship in that environment, you have to make sure that you are authentic. And this is different to what we used to do from the norm that it was before. And that's the reality. I mean, and I don't want to be the fly in the soup, but the reality is like there's no familiarity anymore. The new norm is completely different, and you have to think about what are the things that you have to apply. But in all the things that you will do, either live or pre-recorded, try to think about this. This is the mentality that I have. I don't change my worship when I lead to 1 or 1,000, because when I'm practicing in my home, I just close my eyes and start leading worship. That's the reason why I believe so many people has told me before that they like the way that I worship, because honestly, I forget that everybody's there. I just sit in my piano and start worshiping. And then I remember, oh, I have a band that I have to lead. Oh, I have a people that I have to lead. And just be authentic. Try to invest and practice your instrument and your singing and everything. And try to encourage everyone to be the same, in the same attitude, the same way. And your musicians and your singers, motivate them to be who they are. In my case, I ask all the singers and the musicians, I don't want you to do what is in the CD. Because number one, that's years of experience. They are in a professional level, and they have enough time and hours gained into the studio to make it sound like that. In the live setting is completely different because there's two different kind of musicians: the musicians for recording studios and the musicians for a show in a live setting. And we're neither or. We're simple as it is. We're people who wants to serve God with our talents, and you have to understand that one. And I'm telling you because I made the mistake before of pushing the people to do what I want because I have a vision they have to accomplish. No, listen, embrace the vision collectively to motivate everyone to worship together. And this is what I said to everyone. Okay, we did our homework. This is my pep talk on Sunday mornings to everyone all the time. You practice, we know what to do. Now I want you to forget what you were doing and surrender everything before God and just worship and enjoy the time that we're going to have. And that's the thing that you can adapt either to the live setting, coming back to the church, or pre-recorded. And I know that it's hard because the dynamic between you and the camera is really hard. And I'm telling you by experience, because I have to remind myself right now, hey, I have to look to the camera. I don't have to look to James. I don't have to look to my image camera, James, me, camera, James, me. It's really hard. But still, remember, you have to engage with the people, embrace with the atmosphere that you are creating to make sure that the people has the experience of worship that you need to have for your specific setting and need.
And what advice can you give worship leaders on how they can prepare their teams for upcoming live worship?
So if we are referring like when we come back to the live setting in churches, I will tell you in my case, and this is a reality that I think that is really even new for James. So I live really far away to the church that I'm going to start working pretty soon. And one of the, I don't want to say contingencies because it's not, but one of the things that I said to the church, I cannot move closer to the church right now because, of course, I don't have the financial availability just to say, okay, let's move to a different house, a different city and everything. But one of the things that they agree is with the things that I'm about to tell you. I will lead the worship team remotely.
I love it.
And James is laughing because he's the one who told me, hey, Eli, check out this. And he sent me an application called Riff Station, #1. And I was just like, what is this thing about Riff Station? Mi no comprendo la cosa mía en frente de lo mío. And I was just like, what is this? And Riff Station was one of the apps that he sent me that if you don't know the song, you will play the song through the Riff Station that is like a music player, and it will tell you the chords and progressions that they are playing without you doing anything other than just pressing play. And I was just like, oh man, this is like rediscovering fire for me because it never existed. And then one day James is just like teasing me, poking me. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he said, hey, Eli, check out this. And he sent me the almighty Jam Kazam because it's like a Zoom, but just for musicians, where you don't have delays and you can play with the people everywhere in the world. It's like a social media, help me to define it, like a social media gathering place for musicians that you can embrace. You can record your services, your practices and everything, and you can put it available to the people. So James introduced me to that one. That's the reason why I said to this church, I can manage the worship team for now remotely. And I don't know if you want to add anything there before I start just answering the question, because I haven't answered it yet.
Yeah, well, Jam Kazam, I tried it a couple times, and I was actually very surprised with it. And you and I tried it together, and it was just like I know it appeared almost like we were on a Zoom call, but it felt like we were in the same room. Because when I've tried Zoom before, or that type of thing to play, and there's always the delay, like you're strumming, and then someone else is trying to do something, and then it just sounds like it's like delays in the timing, and you're trying to get the timing right, but it's not working. Like one person might hear it good, but the other person hears the delay.
Yes.
And but
You want to
in,
know a funny story? I was having in my old church a Zoom meeting just to encourage the people, just to pray together, and I have the amazing idea to start singing on my Zoom meeting. And if you are laughing like oh, or you're like oh, yes, that's exactly what happened to me. So I start singing the song, and I have to mute my audio because I can feel it's not just the delay on me and on their side, it's the delay from everyone. So, with all the respect, it was a mess. Because that's how Zoom works. Zoom is not intended or created for practicing or playing live music because it's a mess. But one of the things that I want to tell you, and I will ask you a question regarding Jamkasam because I'm not quite sure. So Jamkasam is a really good platform. It's not user friendly. I will tell you the truth because it was really hard for me just to figure out how to do it. So I can help you and train you if you want. I'm trying to see if I can do a training and leave it in my YouTube channel, Hope for Today TV on YouTube every single day. Watch me, please. And I want to leave a tutorial how to set up everything because it's not easy to manage. So establishing that is not user friendly. This is the question that I have for you. So is Jamkasam an open source or is a company who was trying to do something? Can you explain me that one because I'm not quite sure what is Jamkasam regarding that.
Jamkasam was released in beta. In other words, it wasn't really fully functional. They were still testing it. They also went for some crowdfunding. So basically, it is going to be a paid service from what I can tell. But it looks like it's going to be something which is worth paying the money. Because
yes, it is.
What we experienced is like, and it wasn't consistent because there were times that it worked and there were times when it just didn't work. And I think it's because of the connections to the Jamkasam servers. Some of them might have been getting overloaded or something. So, and I know they had some technical things to work out. And I'm positive it is not a low cost for them. It's not just a matter of putting a computer in a data center.
No.
This is all probably through cloud services and
they have to
cloud
have really
services.
powerful servers just to make sure that you don't have any delay on the plane, right?
Yeah, and for them, the cost would be in tens of thousands per month or higher, maybe the hundreds of thousands per month that it would cost them in order to be able to host this. And so at some point, I can see that there's going to be paid models for it. But I do think it's going to be, I do believe that this is going to be good for them. And for us, we'll say, in that sense, because they'll be able to get some of the cost back, but we'll also be able to benefit because as worship teams, I mean, if everybody, I think that everybody who is on a worship team, that is a volunteer, that volunteers their time and spends money on instruments or spends money on microphones or spends money on different things, that they do because this is, what they feel led to do, then I think they could also spend, whatever the cost, if it's 20 or 50 or whatever dollars a month to be part of this in order to be able to do, not just online worship, but we'll say remote practices where you don't have to go to the church to do it. You can practice from home. So
basically, Jamkasam is like a practice room. But remember, I just want to clarify something. This is not a Christian app, like let's say Planning Center or Faith Life or anything that was intended for Christians to use only. No, this is a normal app who will bring together musicians from all over the world. So what you do is you go and you can put your profile, what is your knowledge of the instrument, and if you want to be paid by hour, there's people hiring online through this app. So it's really profitable. I'm just telling you, it's a really nice app. But let me tell you this, okay? Number one, answering the question that James gave me is number one, practice and train volunteers online, because that's the reality. You have to realize this. You need to embrace the people and you need to bring your people together. By example, last night I had my first training session and it was my first session. Listen to this, James. I was setting up Planning Center with everyone. sending the emails. They didn't receive the emails, and it was painful. No, because I know how painful it is to set it up. But as soon as you are connected, you will love the app. So I have two guys who have to take time off during their working hours. One is a baker. He's a manager in a bakery, and the other one is a professional sports player, and they have to stop and being on the field in their works in environment. And they were able to be on my meeting. It was a Zoom meeting, but we were able to talk and set up everything for themselves. So the ratio in between accomplishing in setting the accounts was like 100%, because everybody was able to attend, and everybody was able to be trained properly and start working with the app. So remember, the more resources you put available for your people, the better and the more effective you will be. So remember, number one, practice and train your volunteers online. It's effective, costly, and you can connect with them all the time. Because, by example, if one of the musicians doesn't have time to come to the practice, you can connect online with them at any time. If you're a full-time or part-time pastor, you can do it in your time. You can just connect on your computer and start playing with them, and that's really effective. And that's the reason why James was just like smiling, because he loves this kind of things, as I do. Use online based platforms to prepare. You can do it through Zoom, again, Jamkasam. And regarding Jamkasam, let me tell you one thing: you need an audio interface. There's no bargaining on that one. It's mandatory. You won't be able to use it with a microphone from your cell phone or from your computer, because that's where the delay is. Also, you can use Planning Center. Planning Center has a lot of resources that you can use, not just for worship teams or planning your services, but also they have an amazing app called Music Stand. I'm sorry that I forgot the name. I just remember the face of the logo. In what it does is it gives you all the charts or all the lyrics, gives you the samples, and you can play everything like right on the tablet or on the computer, and you have all the resources, metronome, lyrics, and all the things, and changing the keys as you want on the go. And the more resources, again, that you have available for your volunteers, the easier will be for them to develop their abilities. And remember, use younger generation too. You can train them at any time. The next tip is going to be, if you're gathering people, still they are not allowed to sing. So keep this one in mind when they come to church on Sunday mornings. When they come, in our case, Ontario is not allowing them to sing. In the worship time, just one person is allowed to sing. And if the people is in the sanctuary, they have to wear a mask. Ontario is bringing, or Canada, correct me on that one, I think that is Canada or Ontario, that face masks in public places is mandatory. Right or wrong?
It's provincial, whichever province implements that. And I know in Ontario at this point, if you're in a public place, I know that in the city of Toronto, in Markham and Brampton,
Barrie, Innisfil, mandatory.
Yeah, I don't know about outside of the major centers, like outside of the GTA. I don't know, but I know within the GTA, you're supposed to wear a face mask within a building. Like, because right now, I know Markham, effective today, in all public spaces that are enclosed, you're supposed to wear a mask.
Okay. And remember, including churches.
Yeah, including churches, including businesses, including anything. It doesn't have to be a mall or a restaurant.
Like last night, 2 days ago, I have to pick up pizza, and my wife was just like, "Wear your mask," and I'm like, "I'm just picking up pizza." Yeah, you have to wear a mask because it's mandatory right now. So keep that one in mind. So when you're leading worship, you might not feel the feedback from the people singing because they are not allowed to sing, and if they sing, they will have a mask. So you have to adjust to those kind of things when you're moving to the live worship settings, coming back to the churches. Then have a comfortable setting to embrace people. Like, by example, this is what I mean. You don't have to have all the band anymore. You can have maybe an electric acoustic or just acoustic bass with 2 guitars, cajon maybe for percussions. Try to adapt to the needs of the church. Or maybe why don't you do an a cappella service? You know, those are the things that your creativity will bring you, and try to adapt to the needs and try to bring that variety also to your services. And I know that you want to say something, James, but you just give me 2 seconds and let me tell you this. Adapt to the needs of your church, because at the end of the story, they are your audience who will be enjoying or not. And that's the thing, it's 50-50. People will or won't like it. People will or won't sing. So keep that one in mind, especially on your live services when you come back to your church.
I also think that, as you're preparing to get towards the live services, it's also important to re-engage your worship teams if you were not fully engaging them. In other words, if you had 12 members and you had multiple times when maybe this person was on this Sunday and another person was on another Sunday, another person on another Sunday, and a lot of churches have that where they have multiple groups of people that are part of the same worship team, and in rotation, whether it's on the singer side or it's on musician side or whatnot. And maybe like in the case of our church, we had been recording using a click track, and just to make it easier and simpler, we were working with some key people who had technology, where we had these audio interfaces and that we were able to record and use recording software and to be able to send it back and forth and do editing. And that we knew where there was a microphone that somebody could sing to and record it to a separate track, or somebody's using an instrument and recording it to a separate track, that it could be taken back and brought into a recording software. So we didn't have everybody involved in the worship band. So only a core where we had that technology in place. And at this point, I can only think that some of the worship members, after 4 months of this, are feeling like, hey, I want to be connected again. And I think part of that is if we use platforms like Jam-Kazam, where we can bring the people in, or if we're able to go back into the church, because right now gatherings in Ontario can be up to 50 people. And so therefore, if we do have times where we go back into the church for a practice session, respecting distancing, using masks where necessary, that sort of thing, respecting all of the different guidelines that have been given to do this, and starting to bring back some of these practice sessions and just people playing together, because there's just something about when you play together, just something, another level to it, where you have that ability to play better, to sing better, to have the moment where everything just kind of like meshes together, right?
Yes.
And also that feeling of I'm a part of the team. And so I think that some of that has to be done too.
And one of the concepts that for me has been really hard to understand, and I'm telling you that I struggle with this concept, maybe not for everyone, but because the way that I'm psychologically wired, it's really hard for me to understand this concept. And James is one of those guys who have taught me how to have just jamming sessions. There's nothing planned. That's a heresy for me. I have to plan everything, but no, not necessarily. So one of the things that you can implement also for your musicians is just like having a jam session. Don't talk about anything, just like, okay, what do you have? Hey, I discovered these chords. What about this? And just play for fun. Listen,
there were times we just...
That's the concept. Yeah?
Yeah, there were times we just got together, a bunch of us, and just started playing some, call it like campfire songs, or just anything.
Yes.
It was just like one person just starts on an instrument and everyone else just joins in, and one person starts to sing and the other would just start to sing. And we would just do this on different songs. And then at a certain point when, it felt appropriate or things kind of slowed down, maybe somebody opened up their guitar case or whatnot and pulled hey, I found this song, and then they pull it out and then we start singing it or whatever the case may be.
Again, forgive me, you who is watching this video, forgive me, please. But that's something that for me is really hard to understand. I'm a really self-motivated person who has to plan. Even I have to know what I'm going to be wearing in the next 2-3 days. So I'm sorry, that's the way that I am. But I have found a way to enjoy those jamming sessions where you just have to improvise, be
It's
open about those things, and it's really rewarding emotionally because you have to reconnect with your people, right?
Yeah, it's like you go out to have a pizza with some friends. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Well, you just go out to play music together with friends, and then really that's all it is. It's just it's an opportunity to connect at that sort of emotional level as opposed to
Yes.
a structural. We're here to do business. No, we're not here to do business. We're here to be friends and to connect with each other. And I know you might say, well, what if I don't like somebody that's on the worship team? Well, like them, like bury that pride, like
Yes.
them, because
Like them.
because at the end of the day, you don't want two people to get up on stage, and you can kind of see them like this. No, you don't want that. You want to be amicable towards everyone else that's up there. So go out of your way, be friendly to them, let them be friendly to you.
Yes.
You may not agree with everything; they may not agree with everything with you, and that's fine. Just
Yes.
be accepting in the sense that you can be beside me, I can be beside you, and I'm fine with that.
And you mentioned something really important, James, and this is this word that you mentioned, emotional connection, is taking me to my last advice regarding this question. Remember that we as musicians, we need that emotional connection. But also, I will give you a new revelation, a new gospel I bring to you, my dear friend. Also, the church needs an emotional connection with you. So be sensitive. And number one, to your worship team, make them feel that they are not forgotten and you understand their position. Because some people might not want it to come back to church that easy. And in the same way, the church members might not feel comfortable or safe to come back to the church. Remember, mental health is an issue right now. Anxiety, is on the rise. Depression and those kind of things. Some people is battling those kind of things. So think about your musicians that they're emotionally a roller coaster, and I'm telling you because I'm one of those. And also remember the church members, mothers, fathers, parents dealing with kids at home all the time, then they might not have anything else to do. So think about those kind of things and remember, this is the key word for this advice. Be sensitive to their emotions and get connected with them. With your worship team, with your Zoom meetings or phone meetings, FaceTime, Facebook, Skype, if it still exists, I think. I'm just saying because everybody talks about Zoom. And Zoom is not the best platform in my taste, but it's really, really useful for masses. But again, you will cut that part out of the video.
No, I
Okay.
won't.
Oops, I'm in trouble.
And by the way, Skype for Business is basically in Teams. So Microsoft has renamed it to Teams, and they've taken actually some other things like I think it was SharePoint. I think is what it was that they also took, and they packaged it together, and they made it Teams. So
You see,
Skype
everybody's
for
learning.
Business.
I'm learning that one is Skype for Business. But
Yeah.
whatever platform you use, make sure that you get connected with the people in your worship team because we are stewards of our resources, including human resources. Make sure that they feel connected with you, not just texting, but vocally, visually. We have technology. We have smartphones, right? So make sure that we are using all our resources to connect with them in anyhow. And number two, when you're in your building or you're transmitting anything online, practice. Go to the mirror in your washroom and just try to have a conversation with yourself. And you will discover things about yourself that you don't know. Like how do you smile? Or how do you don't smile? And you have an assassin kind of face and your resting face is like, just try to practice. Look at like the crazy doctor face that James just did. but just practice in front of the mirror, just to engage with the people. You have to connect with the people, because remember, we were not meant to be alone. We were created to be social. And right now, the enemy is attacking one of the core values of humankind. Don't allow your emotions to go over all this and disconnect with the people. Remember, connect with your worship teams, connect with the congregation, and try to practice also your visual connection with the people when you're talking into the camera, and don't look over anything else. Just look at my eyes and you feel tired. You feel that you want to continue. I'm creeping you out. I'm sorry. I'm just teasing you. But try to have that connection. Seriously, try to connect with everybody. No, James, I can see you. I can still see you. You have to duplicate. You have to surrender your camera to, no, don't move to the left. No, no, no. Have to surrender your 5K camera to me. No, that's what I'm saying. You have to make sure that you embrace with people, have fun with the people. And if you're stressed out, and I'm serious about this, if you're stressed out, and I think that this is something that I have to say for someone. If you're stressed out because of everything that is happening around the worship team and the congregation, listen to me. Take time off. Rest. Refocus. Redefine yourself. I have to redefine myself too. James have to do it. That's the reason why we're doing this tech talk and worship talk online. We cannot gather together anymore as we wish and as we want. But remember, adapt to the changes in the new norms and the new familiarities that we have to face every single day. Not just with our families, not just when you go to grocery shopping, not just when you go to any place, but also with the church, with your people. But the main thing is make them feel love and that you care about them. And there's enough resources right now. You have smartphones, you have a phone, you have whatever you have in your hands. Just try to make connections and try to make these worship experiences available for the congregation and enjoy. If you stop enjoying what you do with the music and the worship since a couple months ago, redefine yourself. Take time off, take 1 week off, and disconnect from everything and refocus yourself, because you need to enjoy. If you don't enjoy what you do, ask for an advice. Talk with the doctor, talk with the pastor, a counselor, whoever you have to look for it. But redefine yourself, because the moment that you stop enjoying music and what you do in worship, it's the moment that you have to ask for help. That's the truth. And I'm telling you by experience. I have to talk with my doctor because I was really stressed out. And he gave me really good advices. And listen, there's nothing wrong, because you have to reconnect. And listen, this is not just about performing when you are playing or singing or doing what you're doing. This is about a spiritual connection that you have to have. And sometimes you have to be vulnerable before the people. When I lead worship, and James knows this one, because when I sent him something that I did in my worship set, he said, you were crying. Yeah, because I was the one who was really blessed with all the things that you were doing in the worship. Enjoy the worship time. That's what I'm trying to say today. And if you can get something out of this, take this. Ask for help if you need help. Start enjoying what you are doing with music. And don't allow the circumstances and the difficulties to steal the melody that's coming from God to your life. That's all for me.
Well, I that was definitely a lot and on spot, and I thank you for that, Eli. As always, it's been a pleasure. This has been our episode of Worship Talk, and if you like what you've been hearing from us, give us a like, and also subscribe to our channel to see more videos like this, and turn on notifications so you'll know when they're there.
Please.
And also, scoot on over to Hope for Today TV and take a look at Tech Talk as well, and all of the other videos that Eli has been producing. And remember, he's a YouTube phenom in the making, and he's doing well. And so I want to thank you all for being here. I'm happy to be here. I know Eli is as well. And so again, this is James, and
This is Eli.
And thank you for watching Worship Talk.